Hi, this is Nancy Damiano, garden girl at 2 Peas in a Bucket, with this week's episode of Storytellers, where we use tools and techniques to tell a story. So this week's layout started out with this image that I saw on Pinterest of string art, and I wanted to recreate this somehow on a page without all the bulk, but keeping the really interesting shape, and I like the texture that this adds also. Now, the story behind the page started out with this little booklet that I got on back to school night. My son's teacher had the parents tested on how well you know your child, and I thought it would make a great story for a scrapbook page. I think I got 3 out of 5 right. It was pretty interesting. When I flipped the book open, then you can see my son's answers. And I wanted to document this at this age. I think it would be actually a fun project to do at many ages. I think we'd be surprised at how well or sometimes how little we know our kids' favorites at that moment. Now let's take a quick look at some of the things that I pulled. I started out with the Boys Rule Collection by Crepe Paper. That's what all this paper is from. And I love the colors. I needed to stick with the blues and greens in our mood board this month. And so I thought this would be a great choice. I love the schematics and the circle. Pretty aqua blue and the gray. They're very boyish, but I think you can use them for any type of page. I really tried so hard to incorporate that star vellum. I didn't do it, but I tried. Then I have some wood veneer from 2 Peas in a Bucket. And I like the wood look for boy pages especially. Some flair from October Afternoon, and then this again is from the Boys Rule collection, and it has lots of great die cuts and little bits and pieces. These are the 4x6 and 3x4 cards, the sticker sheet, and then some thickers in a gray color. These I had taken out. These are the chipboard that goes along with that Boys Rule collection as well, and I love these icons. And then some wood stars. Now let's get started on the page. I started out by printing out my journaling already. I had an idea of what this page was going to look like. I did have a sketch to go with it. And I'm going to base this page on this scrap piece of pink paper. You're not going to be able to see any of it, but since I'm not sure how this is going to lay out, so it's a good idea to start it out on, just a basic piece of scrap paper. I know I'm going to run this ombre aqua shade up the sides, and I'm going to create a few layers here to base the photos and my embellishment spot on. Up at the top, a nice neutral, and then the dark gray at the bottom. I like the dark gray on the bottom because it's a good place for all of the chipboard and elements to really stand out. And I know those are already in bright blue colors, so the gray will set those off. Now the top portion of the layout, I know that's where my photos are going to go. And then I have my journaling, which includes what I said and what my son said and how they differed. The date, the name of the teacher, that's all included in the journaling to tell the story. And then I'm going to start building the embellishment cluster, which is pretty big, all across the bottom. My idea was that it would look sort of like when a little boy empties out his pockets. My son collects all kinds of stuff. His book bag and his pockets and everything he owns has bits and pieces of just boy stuff, strings and Legos and all different kinds of things. So that's the look that I was going for down here. And I started out with some of the 4x6 and 3x4 cards from the Boys Rule pack. This is the die cut pack. It includes a variety of different bits and pieces like this. So what I'm looking for is icons that remind me of him, different shapes. I chose the black chalkboard because I know that's going to make a nice contrast. And then somehow I'll layer that one of those wood veneers as well. And here you can see how I just go back and forth layering colors, and shapes, and sizes, and that sort of thing. So I'm looking for a good strong base. And then I'll add all the printed stuff on the top. The star in the middle will become an interesting part of the layout. That's why it's smack in the center, sort of framed out by all the other little bits and pieces. Now I'm looking for a piece of chipboard to go on top of all the flat elements. You want to keep layering flat and layered flat and then sort of like chipboard or wood on top to give it a staggered look. Now to set off that center spot and to achieve that string art look that I was admiring on Pinterest, I am going to trace out this star shape onto a piece of really thin chipboard. And actually I traced this a little bit dark and I had to go back and sort of erase it. So to save you some time, trace it very lightly. And the reason I'm tracing it is because when I wrap around this string, I want to make sure that the entire shape is covered, and that's just the easiest way to do it. Now you just want to randomly twirl the string around in different directions, and then through the magic of video I'll show you the back there and the front, and then you see you get that cool string art effect. It was really easy to do, it took a few minutes. And it has tons of dimension, and it just reminds me of little boys and string and just messy things, I guess. So in order to put it down on the page, I did use a lot of pop dots because the string and the chipboard are going to give you some height there. And I'll do the same thing with the wood veneer. And that's just so I can have layers on different heights. Now the wood veneer, it curls a little bit when you first get it, but once you put adhesive down, they go flat down with no problem. They're thin enough for that. And the diagonal aqua is just a random Project Life card that I happen to have on my table. And I just thought it went well with the design and the colors that I needed to stick to. I'm going to add a little bit of metal onto that tag, chalkboard tag, with some staples, or a staple actually. And then just tuck in random bits. That's why I only put adhesive along the center of anything that I put in an embellishment cluster so that you can still tuck things in. Sometimes I forget and then I have to tear it up, but for the most part. Now in order to dress up the wood card, I decided to repeat more wood elements and also repeat the star shape. So I'm going to glue a couple of the wooden Studio Calico stars with quick drying glue. You can see it got a little messy there, but that glue dries pretty clear. Okay, so one last spot for a sticker or some kind of pop of color, and I chose the yellow seal shape to repeat the yellow. There's a little yellow peeking out in one of those cards there. And I thought that would add a little more pop of color. We have a race car on the top. I always find a bunch of those laying around. And then one last element of texture, and that'll be a flare. Then I thought the wood veneer was looking a little plain, sort of like just wood on top of wood. And so I decided to add some of these ombre aqua enamel dots, different sizes, different colors, adds movement, and a little more junk. Here's a good close-up so you can see how well that glue dried, and a peek of the string art. Now up at the top, all I really have are my two photos, just two pictures that I happen to love of my son at the age where this journaling was written down. They're both 3x5. And just putting the pictures really close to each other makes a nice big block so that it can counterbalance the heaviness that's going on at the bottom of the layout. And then a super simple title with my thickers, You Said, I Said, which was the point of the journaling. And this page reminds me of all business at the top with the pictures, the title, and the journaling, and all fun on the bottom. And that completes our page. We used some favorite pictures, a story that documents my son at age, I guess this was almost 8, and then had some fun with some Pinterest art down at the bottom. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.